And good morning. I think I'm just going to jump right into it this morning. Title is Cosmic Voting in 2012. It will be different. Several people asked after my video on politics and religion if I felt there would actually be a US election in November of this year. The short answer is no. I feel the changes that will take place this year will not support the status quo anywhere on the planet. As energies rise, those trying to maintain the old paradigm will simply not be able to keep body and spirit going as before. Many will leave the planet, having no other choice. Earth is rising, and those not willing to rise with her will be taken away. In that respect, 2012 is Judgment Year. At year's end, things will likely be very different. Now, let me say very, very plainly, I do not have a crystal ball. I do not see with infallibility everything that lies ahead. I don't have all the answers. If there's anything that I know about myself right now, it's that in many respects, I'm less certain of making bold predictions than I've perhaps been at any other time in my life. Yes, I feel energies. Yes, I pay attention to what's going on. I have lots of things come across my path every day, both in my interpersonal relationships and people that I relate to and conversations that I have, and as well as things that people send to me and videos that I watch. I don't get to watch them all, so don't get disappointed if I don't watch the one that you sent me, because I can't do everything. But I am inundated with a lot of information, and I do try my best to pay attention to what's going on in the world. I do try to be flexible, allowing myself to be surprised. And that's something that Spirit keeps, when I meditate, I keep hearing the message, Ron, don't be too rigid in your expectations. Allow flexibility, because that's what's happening right now. The earth we're creating the future, folks. It's being created day by day. And this is 2012, and I thought, sure, if you go back to my videos from last year, I'm certain that I spoke very, very solidly that there would be changes by the end of October last year. I mean, because I honestly believed that that's what it was going to be. I believed that. And it didn't happen the way that I expected. Yet there were very massive and significant changes when I look at it from a perspective of recognizing what's been taking place at some of the higher levels that we do not get in even the alternative media for the most part, although it does come through in some of the channeled messages. Now, I have to say, point blank, I will not be voting in any election in 2012, even if everything were the same, because I expatriated, which means I stepped out of the corporation last year in the spring. I became a non-citizen of the United States of America Corporation. That's what a UCC1 is. That's one of the parts of the UCC1. You expatriate yourself. I am not part of the fraud, the corporation that operates as a government and pretends it's a nation. It is not a nation. It's a privately owned corporation. And if Ron Paul or Dennis Kucinich or anybody that I think has pretty good integrity, if they were put in charge as the president of the corporation, I think that would be a positive thing, because I think they would be able to speak out. But some people, like Matthew's latest message, says that Obama was planning to make great changes when he came in, but the Illuminati won't let him. Because remember, the United States is not a country. Get over the fact that thinking that it's a nation. It is not a nation. It is a privately held, privately owned corporation for the profit of a relative handful of people. It's not 1%. I mean, it's not probably not even 100th of 1% that actually call the shots. And they've been able to get away with this for a very long time. Now, they're not going to get away with it. I'm certain they're not going to get away with it very much longer. Will all of that happen in 2012? I think the probability is yes. It will end in 2012. Their rule will end. How it will do that, how it will unfold, I wish I could give you the answers. I wish I could. In my heart, I feel very, very strongly that the cosmos has voted a new heaven and a new earth. And that vote is the ruling vote. It is the dominant vote. It's not going to be a democratic vote. God or the powers that be or the source or whatever you want to call the higher levels of creation have mandated that the earth will be in new energies. And I believe by the end of this year, there are so many things lining up that point in that direction, astrologically and more. Do I have absolute confidence that this will happen this year? No, I don't. Do I have absolute confidence that it will happen? Yes, it will. It will. Many say that it's going to take yet 3 or 4 more years. Some say more than that. Are any of them right? Well, everybody's all over the place, so somebody has to be right because we've got predictions of every sort all over. And I'm not certain that I'm any better at predicting than anybody else. Although those that only make their predictions based on the past, I think are making a huge mistake. I make my predictions based on where I see us going. I see the earth already redeemed, already established under loving and compassionate leadership that help guide people to rediscover who each of us is as an eternal being. Our soul is going to be restored. Our minds are going to be renewed. Our bodies are going to be rejuvenated. And I think that's true of the majority of people. Those that will be taken, as I said in the little blurb, the reverse rapture, if you will, those are those that dig in their heels, that want to hang on to the old paradigm and won't let it go. And a lot of them will be the fundamentalists that are basically good people, but they can't let go of their religious viewpoint. And the old religious viewpoints of I'm right and everybody else is wrong, they will not survive these changes. They cannot survive these changes. You can't have a world with people that are sitting in judgment, because as you judge, you shall be judged. And if they're judging that everybody else is wrong, guess what? They're going to be taken out. Now, from their point of view, that might be the positive rapture. But from the point of view of the earth becoming unified, it's going to be the negative rapture. They were the hindrance. They weren't the blessing. They were part of the problem. People all hanging on to old paradigm ideas of separation that don't work, that can't work in the new world. That the energies will simply not support it. I'm really, really strong on that. Now, some people commented, and every once in a while I get comments like this. Like somebody said, I see that from my video yesterday, how stressful I was. And from the one the day before, how angry I was. I didn't feel anger or stress myself personally in either of those situations. I didn't resonate at all with those perceptions that people had of how they were perceiving me. And I'm recognizing that I do this myself with others. So people are holding up a mirror before me because I often think that I know how somebody else feels. I know what they think. No, I don't. Not unless I've actually talked to them about it. I have I have impressions of what I think may be going on, but I have no way of knowing for sure that that's true unless I have a conversation with them and actually communicate with them. Now, when I've communicated back to some of these people that have said you're stressful or you're angry, they still think that what their perception is right, and that my perception of my own experience and my own feelings is obviously wrong because it doesn't agree with their perception, and they trust their perception over the actual communication. Isn't this how we learn? It is. It's how I'm learning. And I know I'm going to go through lots of changes this year, and I welcome them with open arms. I don't know how, for example, the lawsuit. I've served the papers of the writ of mandamus. I will be continuing to send those out. I will be working on that more today, of actually getting them sent out, and it'll go out either today or tomorrow. Certainly the deadline for it that I promised the court is that they will all be out. The notice of service to those that I'm serving will be received sent out by next Tuesday, because 5 business days I promised. And that was delivered on Wednesday to the court. Do I know the outcome of that? Do I know if they're going to ignore it like they've done all the times in the past? I've placed yet another lawful claim on my own property that they're trying to steal from me. Do I know how that's going to go out? No, I don't. But the cosmos is voting in all of this. And by that I mean the energies, literally, nobody can stop this. The cosmos is allowing energies to rise, or causing energies to rise in all of us. That's why so many of us are waking up. That's why so many of us are paying attention as we've never paid attention to these things before. We're recognizing things. There's all different stages of awakening. Some are just awakening to the world as it's been going on and all the fraud and the corruption. Some have known that for a long time. Others are tapping into the higher spiritual energies and doing the inner work of transformation inside. And that's the most important work of all, by the way. To do the work inside of ourselves. And some of my friends and myself are really experiencing revelation of how we have sabotaged ourselves for a long time, and how we have missed so many things in our lives. And we're waking up, recognizing the game, if you will. We're recognizing how we've done this to ourselves, how we've deceived ourselves. And I've deceived myself because I've wanted something so bad. As I say, the Spirit keeps saying to me, Ron, be flexible, be loose. Don't hang on too tight to any specific way that you think it's going to be. We know that you want a world that works for everybody, and we're working on it. The higher powers are working on it, and they want the same thing. That's in alignment with the will of God, if you will. Now, will there be 3 days of darkness, as this Japanese princess and some of the Mayan elders have said and others have said? By the end of this year, will there be 3 days of darkness? I don't know the answer to that. My thought is no, but I don't know. And I admit that to you. I don't have that answer. Will everything be shut off? What would happen if everything was shut off? I don't know the answer to those questions. I wouldn't want my electricity and my computer and everything to be shut off. My whole life revolves around the internet and the computer. I spend a big chunk of every day there. The majority, by far the majority of every day. is spent at the computer, keeping in touch with things. I also spend a lot of time meditating. But do I know? Do I know what's going to happen? As I said, Spirit keeps saying, expect surprises. Be prepared for anything. And I give you that same message. Be prepared for whatever is going to be. We don't know how it's going to unfold. We have to, in that respect, trust Spirit, trust God to bring the changes, to bring the kingdom of heaven to earth. It's going to happen. It is solid and cannot be stopped. The cosmic voting in 2012 is for more massive and visible changes, more massive and visible than even in 2011. It's inevitable. This is going to be a different year than we've ever had before, just as I believe 2011 was a different year than we ever had before. So I leave you with these thoughts this morning. And I am more feeling, for those of you that want to go tap into my feelings, I am feeling a little bit more stressful than either of the last 2 days. And I'm not angry. And if you want to analyze me, analyze me. It's your viewpoint. Understand that it's your point of view. And I know from my experience that I often project my stuff on other people. Pay attention to that and see if that's what you're doing. Again, I leave you with these thoughts. Namaste. Yes.